Hey there, everyone. Just want to do a short little video here on cutting nuts for these different necks. So I've got three necks here that I'm kind of putting together at the same time. And I'll go over the process of how I like to shape my the nuts. So what I do is I buy these classical saddles in one at a time, and one saddle can give me 6 nuts. These are $8, so it's $1.50 a saddle or something like that, which is not too bad. And it's made of bone as well, which is really nice. So what I'm looking for here is something that's a little bit oversized, something that I can sand down to size and make it fit into these slots here. And the dimensions of this saddle blank here is, I believe, 120 millimeters across. 3.5 millimeters in thickness here, and 12 millimeters left to right here. My nuts are 32 millimeters in length at the right here, so I can get 3 in thickness here, in width, I guess. So you can imagine, this is pretty much the end of this is a nut slot that's almost, a nut that's almost ready to go in. So I can get 1, 2, 3. And if I can cut it right down the middle here, I can double my yield of bone here for the nut. And that works for me because what I do is I cut a 3 millimeter deep nut slot here. And these end up being 6 millimeters tall. I like my action to be around 2 millimeters at the nut, maybe a little bit lower, so that when these get seated, I have 3 millimeters of stock left above the fretboard, and that means that I can bring it down with my nut files to the desired depth, and there's still enough there to create a nice round over and to give it a nice finished look like I like to do. So that's the sort of a finished nut here. This is how they come in. And this here is one that I'm going to be working on now. Usually I'll cut them down to this size before zipping them down the middle. It's just a lot easier that way. You could probably try it from the whole blank here, but I do it with hand tools. So it's easier to control that on a smaller distance, I find. So what you'll need for this little project here is a detail saw here. This is a 50 TPI, sort of like a modeler's saw or something like that. It's called. It's very thin. It's very shallow, but it cuts really well. Cuts bone really well, and harder materials like that as well. And then this is a homemade, I think it's called a pin vise or a jeweler's vise. Essentially, there's these 6 pins here that act as like dog holes. They're removable as well. Well, sometimes they are. They're removable, and you can kind of clamp your pieces as you want in here. And then after that, you can hold all of that down in your vise. And what I've done is you can't really see, but I've scribed a line with this marking gauge. This I've covered in another video as well, but so it's just a small marking gauge. What I do is I just measure out 6 millimeters projection here, 6 millimeters. Set that, and I'll mark it on the left side and on the right side, on the top and on the bottom as well. I feel like my eyes are pretty good, but I do have a lot of good lighting here, so I can see that marking line there. And then after that, I know that the line that I'm cutting is probably not going to be plumb. It's not going to be square or whatever. So it's a good idea to remember, or just to mark off which one of these is your like factory face, which one is nice and square to the bottom of the channel. So that's what I'm doing here. Same thing on the back. There we go. And by the way, these 3 necks here are going to go on these 3 bodies here. So we've got a sunburst on the left. We've got sort of a minty white on the middle, and uncertain what we're going to do here for the one on the right. And yeah, this one here has nice abalone inlays with double strips at the end. The other ones are just vinyl white vinyl. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much how I go about cutting the nuts for my tenor guitars. I wonder if I can grab a nice angle here. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, so there you go. You might not be able to see the line there, so I'll deepen it again. Oh, off a little bit. There we go. It's not very straight. It's not very deep, but it's enough for what I'm going to do here. So yeah, I've got a vise that's holding a vise that's holding a bone bit, and this is not going to move around too much. You can always put extra pieces of what have you to keep it from moving too much. And then yeah, you're going to use your nail or your finger here as a guide of sorts. This cuts on the pull stroke, and it goes pretty fast actually in bone. So yeah, let's go with that. We'll split that. First thing I do is I split the far end. There we go. That's pretty good. There is a little bit of play there. You don't have to be super precise. And then I'll come and I'll split the front end here. Split that line right down the middle. There we go. And then I'll join those two once I'm satisfied with how straight they are. I like that. Like that. Like that. This can take a little finagling. There. Yeah, we got it pretty much. So, and then now I'm just checking for plumb, because I know my lines are connected across. Sorry about that. I know that my lines are connected across. And then, yeah, I'm just basically just checking for plumb now. I just want to make sure I'm nice and up and down. Doesn't have to be super plumb, but if it's really off, you're going to lose some depth on one of the sides, and that's not good. There we go. It's moving around on me quite a bit, so I'll add something here to help it clamp down a little bit better. There we go. There we go. That should be pretty solid now. That. Oh, there. It's really binding, so that means it's quite close to the end. Probably just snap it at this point. Let's see if we can get it down a little bit more. try this. So you can always bring the tool to the work, or work to the tool. When it's really small things like this, it's good to bring the work to the tool. So I already have my kerf. It's quite nice. It's quite straight. I can see the mark line that I marked on the back, and I'm not dead on, but I'm pretty darn close. I'm not too worried about it. There we go. We have 2 of them. So yeah, 2 of them, and I marked off which one's the good end here, so I know these are going down, and they're going to go up in the guitar like this. This one does have a little chip in it, so I'll probably reject that. And then these are going to be oversized, so I'll have to bring the edges in. Yeah, they're 37 right now, and I need them down to 32. Oh, I might be able to save this one actually. But yeah, the process is basically the same. I'll just chuck this up in the vise, use my fine saw to chop off most of it, and then I'll use a file actually to bring it down to the end to fit it. And then yeah, just a touch of glue and that'll bring it in. Thank you so much.